All right, well, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Now, there's a pair. But ever since Donald Trump started saying some things about Putin, that he's impressed with his leadership, that he's forcefully gets things done, whether you like him or not, and then Putin responding that he thinks Donald Trump is a fairly impressive guy. Well, it's almost like this global bromance has heated up, even in the face of some charges that Putin might not be the guy Donald Trump thinks he is. Take a look.
I have never seen any information or any proof that he killed reporters, George. You're just saying he killed reporters. You and other people tell me he killed reporters. I don't know that he killed reporters. I haven't seen it.
All right, George Stephanopoulos, let's try to remind Donald Trump. And again, this has not been verified by a lot of people. We've seen a lot of reporters and all have gone missing and then disappearing in Russia. Mark Dubowitz says he has no doubt. He's a Foundation for Defense of Democracy's executive director. Your concern is that Donald Trump doesn't have a concern about this, right? That he doesn't know or appreciate how bad a guy Vladimir Putin is, or what?
Yeah, Neil, I mean, anybody who knows anything about Russia knows that there have been dozens and dozens of journalists that have been murdered in Russia under very suspicious circumstances. And all those journalists happen to be critics of Vladimir Putin's. And so
I think Vladimir Putin's people have said coincidence, but you're saying no, right?
Look, there's an environment of press repression, of violence, of intimidation. There is no free press in Putin's Russia. And any reporter that has actually tried to challenge the Kremlin on the war in Chechnya or on corruption has ended up murdered. And so, you know, I think Donald Trump needs to spend a little bit of time getting to understand Putin's Russia, and he'll appreciate that ultimately Putin is a thug.
Now, I think what he's trying to say, or maybe Putin's playing him, or he is playing Putin, to be fair. They're both very good at this game. That they could deal with each other. They have a certain kind of respect for each other. Things could get done. What do you make of that? It was the same logic that was used to advance Ronald Reagan extracting concessions from Mikhail Gorbachev. The same sort of deal. What do you think?
Neil, it's fine if Donald Trump believes that he could actually make deals with Vladimir Putin. Well, let's see if that actually ends up being the case. But the reality is, if you got to know thine adversary, you've got to know thine enemy. You've got to understand what they're doing. You've got to understand where they're coming from. And Trump has got to understand Putin. Putin has become the major domo of the Middle East. He has moved into the vacuum that has been created as a result of an absence of U.S. leadership under President Obama. And he is a force to be reckoned with. So Trump better understand that if he's going to actually cut deals with him. Otherwise, he will be taken to the cleaners.
All right. Well, if you would take it into the cleaners, that is Donald Trump on business deals. This is the guy who wrote the art of the deal. And he always tends to get the better end of the bargain when all is said and done, even through bankruptcy court. So I guess what I would posit and throw back at you here and get your thoughts on it, that Trump would like to be underestimated. Trump would like to be thought of as a guy not experienced in these venues, so a foreign leader could take advantage of him, much like the old days of Nikita Khrushchev thinking that a new young American president named John Kennedy could walk all over, when in fact, in the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was the young upstart apparently walked all over him. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this could surprise the Russians. What do you make of that?
Well, it's possible, but look, you've got to know your adversary. I mean, Ronald Reagan understood the Soviet Union. He called it the evil empire. He was under no illusions about what the Soviet leaders were capable of. Unfortunately, President Obama has been under illusions about what the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, is capable of. That's one of the reasons that he's concluded such a terribly, deeply flawed Iran deal. And so what worries me about Trump is, does Trump understand Putin? Does he understand the kind of man Putin is, how ruthless he is, what he's done in Eastern Europe, what he's done in the Middle East? If he could cut a deal with Putin, great, but he's better understand his adversary if he's going to get the right end of the bargain.
You know, Mark, while I still have you, if you'll indulge me here, you heard about Hillary Clinton saying that Donald Trump's comments on banning Muslims was emboldening the enemy, actually helping ISIS recruiting. Just on the wires now, Jeb Bush has said there's no evidence of Trump being used in ISIS recruitment videos. What do you think of that whole dust-up?
Well, I'm not sure, again, if Trump is being used in any way. I think the policy itself is nonsensical. I think at the end of the day, if we're going to defeat radical Islam, we can't alienate and antagonize hundreds of millions of moderate Muslims. So I think the policy itself makes little sense. I'm not sure if Trump is being used effectively by ISIS, but I think his policy ultimately would be a very dangerous one if we followed through on it.
All right. Very good having you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
All right.